A little bit of breaking news here, not with the Dodgers, but a former Dodger, Jack Flaherty, announced a 2-year deal with the Detroit Tigers. Jeff Passan, of course, breaking the news. 2 years, $35 million contract with an opt-out. So I'll be curious to see how much of this money is in the first year. Like, is this a 25 million and a 10 million? Is this a split in half? Much lower number, Matt, than Jack Flaherty was expecting to get. I think he was hoping to get something like 25 AAV. He does not get anywhere close to that. Again, maybe it's a $20 million deal with a $5 million buyout. Who knows exactly how this plays out, but he can't be pleased necessarily with the number he gets, but he does get to return to Detroit.
Yeah, well, first you could give yourself a pat on the back because you nailed it the first time. Ken Rosenthal says 25 million on the first year.
There you go.
10 million player option on the second year. So yes, this is basically a one year deal. Flaherty will test free agency, I would imagine, a year from now.
$10 million insurance policy against injury, basically, in year number one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's interesting. You know, he was open about not necessarily wanting to, as much as he enjoyed and embraced being able to pitch for his hometown team. It didn't seem like he really wanted to be traded from Detroit. I think he both in comments at the time of the trade and this current offseason in different interviews, he's expressed how much he appreciated AJ Hinch and just a lot of the different people with the organization there. And so to see him back there, and I think there was even some comment where he said, you know, him and Skubal leading the rotation, considering what the Tigers ended up doing and getting into the playoffs, that they probably could have made a little bit of noise. And so, yeah, now he gets to go back and pitch for the team that he just came from. And ironically, the Dodgers, their home opener is against the Tigers. And so maybe he'll start in that series. He won't start ahead of Skubal, assuming Skubal's healthy.
Yeah, and look, Flaherty, like, he's going back to a place where he was incredibly successful. He had a 2.95 ERA with the Tigers last year. And so if you're the Tigers, you trade him away, you get a little bit of prospect capital back. I'm spacing on the catcher. Was it Quintero? Was he the one who got traded in that deal?
I forgot.
Anyways, I feel like if it's the catching prospect that I'm remembering that was traded as part of that, like, I think he's a guy that is like a top 100. Oh, Lorenzo. Thank you. Theron Lorenzo. But he's like a top 60, top 70 type prospect in baseball right now. So if you're the Tigers, like, you weren't making a run. You had Jack Flaherty. You signed him for a 1-year deal. He was awesome. Then you trade him to the Dodgers. You get, and Trey Sweeney, as Orlando's pointing out. Thank you. And Trey Sweeney, who was starting for them in postseason games. And then you get him back the next year. Like, that's kind of a good deal. And $25 million for year 1-year deal, basically. If he's good, then he's definitely opting out. And if he's bad, you only have to pay him $35 million over 2 years. So this feels like a good deal for the Tigers. Again, I imagine Jack Flaherty is going to be pretty disappointed. I'm guessing he was hoping, Matt, that he was going to get like a $100 million deal. You know, he was hoping for 4 and 100 would be my guess. He gets 2 for 35, really 1 for 25, but that's got to be a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of it was some of his inconsistency that we saw in the playoffs, and how much of it was he's kind of just been a victim of a bad, we were discussing it earlier, of a bad free agency period of teams just not really spending. The expectation kept being, once Soto signs, then the market will fully move, when that didn't really happen. And then once all the top starting pitchers come off the board, then then Sasaki, then the likes of Flaherty and some of the others will start to sign. And that didn't really happen. Now here we are, a little over a week from pitchers and catchers starting to report across the league, and Flaherty is just signing, and there are certainly a lot of other free agents out there. So yeah, I remember early in the offseason, there were reports that Flaherty was looking maybe upwards of like a 5 or 6 year deal, which I didn't necessarily see coming to fruition. And then more recently it started, I don't want to say as reality set in, but basically, given just the landscape of everything, it was starting to be reported that he would be open to this type of deal, basically, short term and basically a 1-year type thing.
One cool thing is, some people have pointed out, is Flaherty will likely be in Los Angeles for the ring ceremony. So with the Tigers visiting Dodger Stadium in that opening weekend, kind of a cool deal that he'll be able to get a ring, which, I mean, I guess neither of the prospects that were traded ever made it up to the major leagues with the Dodgers, so they would not be included in that. But again, Jack Flaherty signs with the Tigers, a 2-year, $35 million deal. It's $25 million in year one, a $10 million player option in year two, which is basically code for if he gets hurt and is going to miss he can opt in and get paid $10 million. I believe Rosenthal also reporting that could go up to $20 million depending on if he hits some benchmarks. So again, if he hits those benchmarks, I'm guessing he's going to want to opt out and test free agency. But there you go. Rosenthal reporting the $25 million salary will be a top 10 salary for a starting pitcher. I love this, Matt. That's an agent that's texting Ken Rosenthal, and he's like, "You need to tell everybody that my guy got a top 10 AAV for starting." Don't remind him it's 1 year, okay? But tell them that the $25 million he's making this year is top 10.
Yeah, that's good for Flaherty. I know I don't want to say perfect. There was a small chance that I thought maybe, if he just continued to linger on the market, does he come back to the Dodgers on a 1 year to basically this type of deal? Not at this salary, of course, because the Dodgers are paying the penalty on everything because of the luxury tax threshold. But look, it's unfortunate in general how some of these players have basically remained free agents. A lot of quality guys, and I have been open about how I thought Flaherty was a little inconsistent and not necessarily didn't need to be a priority for the Dodgers this offseason. Still was unfortunate just for the sport's sake to see how things have gone, but at least ultimately Flaherty again gets to go back to Detroit where he enjoyed his time there and spoke very fondly of the organization.
And just a note, last thing to close the loop, kind of an interesting comparison point to Walker Buehler signing a 1 year, $21 million contract. So Flaherty gets 3 or 4 more million in year one. He has a $10 million player option. Walker Buehler has a $25 million mutual option. So just interesting, two guys in kind of very different places, different trajectories, maybe you would say, who at the end of the day kind of end up signing very similar contracts, which is interesting there. So again, Jack Flaherty signing with the Tigers, according to Jeff Passan, confirmed by Ken Rosenthal.
Yeah, and the other wrinkle of our admin is informing us is that, I wasn't sure if Flaherty had ever received a qualifying offer before, but so if he's testing for agency next year, it might be the same thing for him if there's a qualifying offer attached.
Yeah, there you go.